I gotta remember to be sure I'm not set to be cremated when I die. Dark Water. So here we go with part 1 of the 2-part series finale for Series 8 of Doctor Who, and it's pretty good, but exactly how good it's going to be is really going to hinge on what happens in the next episode. And then this is going to be really hard for me to talk about spoiler free, because all the stuff that I want to talk about and all the stuff that I'm sure people who've actually seen the episode are talking about is all spoilers. Pretty much because what we get is a fairly large amount of answers in terms of stuff that we knew was going to be addressed, in terms of the character of Missy that we've seen, this place that's been called Heaven or the Promised Land or the Nethersphere or whatever they felt like calling it. We get some answers on that, and that's all spoilers, so I can't really talk about it. What I will say in regards to Missy specifically, I'm on board so far with what we find out about her. I've got some things that might unhinge it for me, but I'm waiting for the next episode to see if those concerns get addressed and I can completely roll with it. God, you know, there's almost nothing I can talk about this. I don't even want to talk about the initial setup and what happens at the very beginning of the episode, because even though I generally consider first 5 minutes of episode fair game in terms of talking about stuff, I don't even want to say what happens there, because I wasn't expecting it. I didn't see it coming, and I think anyone who watches the episode for the first time, I hope they won't see it coming either. I don't want to wreck that for you. But there's a number of really interesting reveals, and it's kind of funny because there's basically 2 notable reveals that happen over the course of this episode, one of which the show itself actually kind of spoiled in its promotional material intentionally, and then the other of which I don't want to say I completely had spoiled, but I had seen people put out fan theories that effectively was what ended up happening, and I usually try to avoid fan theory partly for that reason, but it's funny, it was actually a fan theory I completely discounted, going, that's ridiculous. And even when it happened in the show, I kind of still felt that's ridiculous, but it may still work. But sort of backing up to the other reveal, the one that the show itself has actually kind of wrecked in promotional materials, though for whatever reason I had completely forgotten about. I don't know why. I usually always remember this sort of stuff, but for whatever reason it slipped my mind while I was watching the episode, and just, I can't say what it is specifically, but just the way visually it's done, because it's done with just this really simple moment and this familiar musical cue kicking in, and I just had this moment of, oh, and then the true full reveal of what it was that was going on and what characters were involved in this, I thought was fantastically executed. It's this sort of thing of the thing that's going to be revealed almost the whole episode. It's staring you in the face, but you don't recognize it for what it is. And I love that. I love when a story, a show, a movie, anything can pull that off, because it's a really hard thing to do without feeling like it's cheating. And this doesn't cheat. It does it legitimately. It does it terrifically. Character work is all solid in this, as it has been. Sort of what goes on between Clara and the Doctor in the earlier portion, that's some pretty heavy stuff that happens. But as I keep banging on about over and over again, I'm ready for her to go, but she has been really good this series. I'm not going to say she wasn't. More great stuff from Danny Pink. He has just really turned out to be a very well played character, a very well conceived character, and a very well utilized character. What they do to him and with him to bring out certain aspects of Clara and the Doctor, it's all just been really well orchestrated. The Doctor himself, oddly, seems slightly like he's put on the back burner in this story, because sort of the main crux of a lot of what's going on is not him directly. I mean, he's trying to figure out what's going on, but he feels slightly to the side of a lot of this episode. Now that said, what happens at the very end of this episode puts him much more front and center, so I expect him to really take the reins in the finale. So based on that assumption, I was okay with it. Now, if that isn't what happens and he still feels peripheral in the actual last episode, that's gonna end up sort of retroactively becoming an issue. But right now, as the first half of a 2-part story, gripping stuff, and the way it ends, the cliffhanger on which it ends, which has multiple layers to it in terms of what it leaves you hanging going, but and I just hope that the payoff works as well as this first half setup was. So Doctor Who usually has at least one 2-parter in every series. So what was the 2-parter for you? The first half that really left you going, ah, how could could I possibly wait a week to get the answers to this? What one was that for you? Was it this one we just saw, or was there another one that hit you with that even harder? Whichever one it was, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Until next time, this council is adjourned.